My name is Mark Gatza, and I am co-chair, along with Alma Bell, of the Bishop Transition Committee, charged with welcoming our new coadjutor. I'm coming to you from my home in Bel Air, Maryland, where I serve as rector of Emmanuel Church. The Bishop Transition Committee has spent more time on preparing the schedule for the meet and greet sessions than on any other assigned task thus far. Good Anglicans, the committee was constantly aware of the three legs of the famous footstool. In this case, the needs of the Diocese of Maryland to have a chance to encounter and interact with the candidates, the needs for the candidates to have a decent and humane process in which to present themselves, and a budget. To put it another way, the challenge involved the need to balance a reasonable amount of time, the talents of our candidates, and the treasure made available. The committee's first consideration was an assessment of the technological capabilities of our congregations. It has worked closely with the Diocesan Communications Office to make sure that all the sessions offered can be live streamed and that recordings of them can be posted to the meet and greet page of the diocesan website. The venues have been chosen with this in mind. The committee is aware that even under the best circumstances, not everyone will have a chance to be in a room with each of the candidates. That said, the kind of exposure that can now be offered electronically will do a good job of introducing them to the diocese. To repeat, all four meet and greet sessions will be live streamed and recorded for later viewing. You are encouraged to watch as many as possible to give you the fullest sense of the candidates' gifts. In addition, we have posted interviews with the four candidates, consisting of questions submitted from over 100 of those by members of the diocese. Please make sure you take time to view these, which we hope will allow room in the live meetings for additional different questions and concerns. The next consideration was how many sessions to offer and where. This process is extremely taxing on the candidates, and here the goal was to be pastorally sensitive to their side of the process. It is far from unusual for candidates to field questions that reveal strong emotions, and there are many stories which point to the fact that their ability to communicate clearly and enthusiastically diminishes over the course of their visits. This is especially true if the format of each session is the same. Noting that there is one non-public session with the candidates and diocesan staff, it seemed to the committee that four public meetings, especially in light of the electronic options, would be right for Maryland. Two of them will be in a panel format with all four candidates on a set together, and two of them with the candidates moving individually from room to room to meet with smaller groups. The venue choices were made to represent the disparate regions of the diocese. Cumberland has worked well in previous election processes and is truly in Western Maryland, such that folks from Garrett County can get there without an overly long drive. Ditto St. James Lothian, though folks from Southern Calvert County will end up having the longest drive to a venue. The Church of the Redeemer filled the bill for Baltimore City and County and for Harford County, and the final choice was to offer one at the Claggett Center to serve the central and near western counties. A word about the first session, which is at Claggett. The panel discussion that is planned will include the opportunity for people watching remotely to submit their questions by email or through a chat box. The moderators will make an effort to include as many of those as possible in the conversation. The four venues have an additional value in that the travel times and distances for the candidates are not burdensome. They will allow the candidates to stay in the same place each night, unpacking only once, and to have some free time each morning for prayer, reflection, exercise, and the like. For better, for worse, the process must fit the confines of the budget assigned to it. Additional meet and greet sessions would necessitate more costs for housing, meals, and transportation. The $50,000 allotted budget must cover not only the cost of the sessions, but the transportation costs of the candidates to bring them to Maryland, some of the electing convention costs, and the costs of the activities leading up to the consecration on September 16th. Please remember that the cost of a consultant and her occasional travel to Maryland also falls under this number. That the committee can do much work on Zoom has actually eliminated some of that expense. Finally, the schedule for bringing a new bishop into the church is determined in large measure by the presiding bishop's office. It begins with the establishment of a consecration date and venue and works backward through the canonical consent process to an election date. The current best practice dictates that the meet and greets should be closer to that date than farther from it. So, in Maryland's current situation, March dates were chosen despite the season of Lent. This happened previously in the election of 2008. The hope is that local Lenten programs will be constructed to include time for this interruption. The Diocese of Maryland is preparing to call a new chief pastor. The Transition Committee has made every effort to create an atmosphere of hospitality and pastoral care for the candidates, while giving the people in the diocese the best possible chance of getting to know their gifts, skills, and priorities, balancing the three legs of the footstool. Please continue to pray for Alyssa, Carrie, Greg, and Randy as they prepare to visit us in the Diocese of Maryland. And save a prayer or two for the Transition Committee members who are working hard to make this process as effective, efficient, and enjoyable as possible. The Transition Committee hopes that everyone in the diocese will have a chance to get to know these candidates through any of the means that are offered. Please remember that throughout this discernment, the Holy Spirit is eager to speak with us and to guide us to the person who will best lead us in the years ahead. The faithfulness of the people throughout the Diocese of Maryland and the goodwill of those who participate in the meet and greet sessions will make room for that spirit and fulfill the hopes of candidates and committee members alike. Thank you.